Hello, little mushroom guy. Welcome. Yeah, no more decks unless people request them, but as far as like randoming through them or going through them in order, I'm done. But I request my Minkskin Boo deck James Vogelblatt on Moxfield should be my favorites. Just run a really fast game with it. Berserk on Boo. Play last March, draw 20, play all the creatures. Sure. One I assume right here. What's up, Chris? Moxfield has a way to actually pie chart or graph your decks. That'd be great, but I don't think it does. Like I can filter them, but I don't think I can actually show a statistical display of everything. So we'll write them all down. Really love fan. What do you think of Caramonix the Rat King? I don't think it's very good in EDH. Looking at the top 5 cards, it's basically just Rat, Goblin Ringleader, right? Rat Ringleader. Not very good in EDH. What's the DMV? I don't know if you're joking or if you're just not American and don't have the equivalent. It's the American agency that issues driver's licenses among anything else related to vehicles. Place where joy goes to die. That's a better definition. Thank you, Drek. I'm from Pizzaland? Aha. Should I tell the story? I guess we're going to tell the story. All right. So if you're not American, then you won't know, you might not know how this works, but basically your vehicle has registration. It's a fee that you have to pay annually. So it's usually around $200. Mine was $171 this year. And you have to pay it or you're not allowed to operate your vehicle. You can't drive if you don't. So I pay my fee. It goes fine as normal. We're good. I paid this at the end of, on September 30th, I pay this. So in November, I get a letter from the DMV stating that the payment was rejected. It says specifically that my check bounced and that they're going to charge me now $274 after issuing penalties. So of course, I go check that I actually paid this. I have a receipt showing that I've paid. They mailed me my registration. So like if I didn't pay, why did they mail this to me already? I go and I look at their website and I type in the information for my vehicle and it says that I have paid. So that's not an issue. So I call the DMV. They say, oh, when we tried to withdraw the funds from your bank account, it was rejected. I've had this bank account since I've been able to have a bank account. I've paid on this bank account literally every year, my entire adult life to the DMV. It's never been an issue. Nothing about, I haven't changed banks. The account hasn't changed in any way. There shouldn't be a problem here. They ask me for my information. I give them my bank account number. They go, oh, we didn't have the full number. We only had a partial number. I don't understand how that can be the case. And I also don't understand how they've been able to withdraw funds from this account every previous year for the past. I've lost track if they didn't have the complete number or why now it would suddenly be an issue. They go, oh, okay. Well, we'll eliminate the penalties so you don't have to pay those. But you do still have to pay a $30 fee because the bank charges us a fee if we try to withdraw funds and it's rejected. So now you owe us $201. Also, you can't just pay this by having us withdraw the amount. You have to go get a cashier's check or a money order, meaning they won't just take the payment online. I now have to physically go to the DMV and give them the check. So I call my bank. I ask them what's going on. DMV says they couldn't withdraw funds. My bank says they shouldn't be able to have ever withdrawn any funds from your account if they didn't have the full number. That doesn't make any sense. Also, we don't charge vendors or anyone else if they try to withdraw funds and they can't. Like, this $30 is completely made up. We don't charge them anything like that. What state are you in? California. I go, okay. So I go to the bank. I get a cashier's check. So a cashier's check is basically they just convert money from your bank account into a check. So it's withdrawn from your account and then it's in the form of a check that is payable only to specifically whoever you say the check is for, right? It's the equivalent of having cash. I go to the DMV. After waiting in line, and so to give you guys an idea, if you go to the DMV, you either have to make an appointment, in which case your appointment will probably not be available for 2 weeks, or you have to go without an appointment, in which case you're probably going to be waiting there for at least 2 hours. So I get to the DMV, I'm in the waiting line, I get into the building, so the line goes out of the building because it's long enough. After getting in there, I realize, oh, fuck. I tunnel visioned on that $30 fee that they're charging me, and I only asked the bank to give me a check for $30. When I actually needed a check for the full $201, the $171 that I originally owed, plus this $30 fee that they're adding on. So I've got to leave, return this check, and get a new check for the correct amount. At this point in the day, I could probably get to the bank, get a new check, and come back to the DMV, but they're closing in like 3 hours, so I'll just do it tomorrow. That's like missing your pack trigger. Yeah, so part of the story is my own fault. Like, I'll just do it in the morning. Also, I want to contest this additional $30 anyway, because why should I have to pay you some fee if the bank says that they didn't charge you anything in the first place? So today, it's the morning. I call them the moment that their phone numbers are in operation. After waiting, of course, on hold, I eventually get somebody, and they say, okay, we'll transfer you to our collections department. All right, I'm on hold again. I get the next person. They go, hi, I'm just checking in to make sure that there's no additional information that we need or that you want to give me before transferring to your collections department. No, that's fine. You can transfer me. So they transfer me. I'm on hold again. Then I get an automated voice message that says, I'm sorry, nobody in this department is available to speak to you right now. And then the phone hangs up. So I call back. Now, what they do right now is when you're on hold, you don't actually reach anybody. They give you a callback number. Or rather, basically what they do is they record your number and then they will call you. So I call back on my cell phone, and it's really choppy and it's cutting in and out. But eventually I get something that says, okay, we'll call you back. And it says, we'll call you back in literally 1 minute. And then it hangs up. So I wait, and a minute passes, and I don't get a call. And after 15 minutes, I still don't get a call. Then a voicemail comes through. I don't know how in the world I got a voicemail without the phone ringing in any way, but I get a voicemail. And the voicemail is an automated voice message from their automated system. And it's so garbled, I can't even tell what the hell it's saying. So I go, okay, maybe there's something wrong with my cell phone. So I call on my landline. This time it goes through. I get another automated message, and it says, okay, we will call you back a day from now. Like, that's absolutely not good enough. I'm not waiting around another day. I want to get this resolved today. So I call back, and it goes, your number already because you're calling from this number, it indicates that you already have a callback date, so you can't be called back until that date. Hangs up. So I go, fuck this. I'll just go in and get there without an appointment, and I'll just talk to somebody there. So I go. I get to the DMV. All this nonsense just because you can't pay online like anywhere else. Yep. So I get to the DMV. The line is snaking out the door. It's even longer than yesterday. All right, whatever. We just have to wait. Between the time that I'm waiting outside and the time I get into the building, an hour passes. I then get into the building, and now I have to wait for my number to be called. My number is B24. It operates on, they give you a number system, and each number is preceded by a letter. So they have A, B, F, and G. And it rotates between those numbers, and it's whoever number gets called next on a sequential system. So I'm waiting, I think, another half an hour for my number to get called. I go up to the front, and I explain the situation, and I say, here's the letter I got from the DMV saying that this is the amount of money that I need to pay, but I already called, and they said that they're going to waive all these penalties, but that they're still assessing a $30 charge for trying to withdraw from the bank, and then the bank charged them. But I contacted the bank, and the bank says they didn't charge them. So I have my cashier's check here, just in case I need to pay this full 201, but I would like it to be known that I'm going to contest this $30 charge. Well, they don't care about that. They just want to know that I have the money to pay the renewal. Okay, fine. So, woman gets all my information, and then she says, okay, I need to call our collections department to verify that they can receive your check. Go sit down and wait while I do that. So I go and wait. 20 minutes go by. They call me back up. They say, okay, I've talked to the collections department. They verified that we can accept your check, so give me the check. Okay, I give them the check. They go, okay, now I need to call our collections department again and verify that they'll accept this payment. I don't know what the fuck we were doing the first time we were on the phone, but okay. Go wait while I make that call, and I'll call you up again when we're ready. Okay, so I go and sit down again. 30 minutes go by. He calls me up again. He says, I actually am going out to my lunch break right now, so I've told my supervisor what's going on. So my supervisor has to get on the phone with the collections department, and they'll call you when they're ready. At this point, I don't even know what I'm waiting for anymore. You've already verified that they need a check. You verified the amount. I've given you the check. Why am I waiting? But okay, I go and wait. I'm waiting for the supervisor to call me. 30 minutes go by. This is after I've already waited all the previous time up to this point. I'm starting to wonder if anybody is even going to call me, like what is happening. And remember, like I don't want to be a bother. Everyone else is being seen during this time. I don't want to run up and interrupt somebody else's appointment. So I wait for a lull. So after 30 minutes, they call someone's number and that person doesn't come up immediately. So I dash over to the window and talk to some other woman and I say, yeah, excuse me, here's the situation. She said, I have to get this money. I gave my check already and I'm waiting on a supervisor, but it's been 30 minutes. I haven't heard anything. Okay, can you let me know about that? Okay, sure. Then she has to help somebody else. Okay, so I go and wait again. Then she eventually tells somebody else behind her what the situation is. And the guy tells me, oh yeah, they're still on the phone. They're still on the call. It's been an hour since they've been on this call, apparently. So I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And I get up and go to the bathroom and come back and I wait. And then the woman who I was originally dealing with comes back from her lunch break. And I wait. And I wait. And I start fantasizing about how I'm going to kill everybody in this building. Not really. Obviously, that's a joke. And I'm having to remind myself to be calm and to wait for an opportunity to try to get somebody's attention. So eventually, it's been over 3 hours since I've been here. And there's a moment where they call somebody's number gets called, and again, they don't come up immediately. So I dash over to the window, and she looks at me and she goes, they haven't helped you yet? You're still waiting? And I go, yes, I'm still waiting. So she goes, okay, let me see what's going on. Oh, but why did you wait this long? You could have come up to the window and asked for help. So she goes and asks, and I'm waiting. And she comes back and she goes, oh, we just have to verify that the check was cashed. Click, 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 click. Oh yeah, the check was cashed, you can leave. So in total, I was there for 3 hours and 50 minutes, not counting commuting. I started to appreciate Franz Kafka once I met the fullness of Austrian bureaucracy, so I fully get your pain. I don't know much about Austria. Aren't you guys more socialist over there? I mean, I don't know if you're full-blown socialist, but as far as I understand it, Europe has more socialist governments or more socialist-leaning governments, so I imagine that's the case. I live in California, so, we're basically a socialist state. So. Anyway. But we're not here to be political. We're here to have fun with EDH, so let's talk about it. Social programs, yes, but not social democrats. Gotcha. Anyway, so last time... Yeah, EDH is greater than politics, indeed. So last time I said, oh, I'll leave you guys off on, we were going through the decks in release order and taking requests to build whatever. And so this is what, and then I did a ton of building off stream. So this is what I wound up with. So I now have 440 EDH decks built, although that's not exactly accurate because one of those is Baron von Count, which is not a legal deck. So 439, close enough. That's not obviously the full amount. There are 2,000, how much is it exactly? Is Commander. So 2,283 commanders, but that doesn't take into account like partner combinations and whatnot, but basically that. So a fraction of that. A big part of that is either commander, again, the things I've covered before, commanders that are just not good enough to really, like, not only that they're not good enough, but like they don't even particularly take you in any direction. So in particular, that would be like vanilla creatures where, yeah, it's not only that the card's bad, but like the card doesn't even particularly take you in any direction. There's no way to build around it. You could hypothetically build anything in those colors and it would be a deck, so the commander is irrelevant. Or it's a commander that's basically just worse than another commander that you could play. Like, why would I build a Gix Yawgmoth Praetor deck if I can just build Tymna that does the same thing, but with more colors? Faceless one is a legal commander. There's stuff like that. There's, obviously all the different partner combinations and the Doctor's Companions and the Friends Forever cards and the background commanders from D&D. So I wasn't going to go through every single one of those. I basically went through and just built whatever I thought was interesting. Even if the commander wasn't necessarily even good. I just built what was interesting. Although there's a lot of overlap. Like, once you've built one white aggro stacks deck, you've kind of built them all. There was also a lot of commanders that were like Voltron auras that all basically overlapped and did kind of the same thing. So in total, we wound up with 27 mono white, 28 mono blue, 22 mono black, 29 mono red, 12 mono green, which I was initially surprised that green was the least among the mono colors. But if you think about it, it actually makes sense. A lot of the green commanders just wind up being the same sort of generic, like, we're just going to ramp a bunch decks. So that's basically what happens there. Also, a lot of the commanders are just going to be like, this is just Selvala, but worse. There's a number of commanders that are basically like, add an amount of mana equal to the creature's power. So why would I do that when I just have Selvala, right? I really want your top 5 for every color combination. Kind of hefty request though. Have you gone back and looked at your older lists and updated them? I think it might be a good idea. I've not gone through all the older lists. I did obviously go through and update all of the decks. So when the bans happened, I obviously went back and I removed Dockside, Monocrypt, and Jeweled Lotus from all the decks that they were in, which was basically every single deck. Like, essentially every single deck had a Monocrypt in it, and every red deck had Dockside in it, and then a fair number of decks also had Jeweled Lotus. So when I go and I look at the, date updated, it's listing every single deck got updated on that date. So I don't know how long ago I've actually spent not updating certain decks, because they will all list it by that ban date. But yeah, I should. One of the other things is I didn't know that Moxfield has a playtest button over here to play test the deck. And what I've found is a lot of the decks where I initially think something, oh yeah, that works. 30 lands, 20 ramp spells, like, all these cards roughly match the theme. Like, that's good. And I've actually found that a lot of times, no, that's actually not good enough. And you do have to go back and test them and switch some cards in and out. In fact, one deck I even completely rebuilt by playtesting, because there were 2 different directions I could take it in, and I thought one direction would be good, and then playtesting it didn't work out. And obviously playtesting is not a substitute for actually playing it in a group game and seeing how the cards function, but this is as good as I'm going to get, at least. I'm not going to build and test, 400 decks. So But this gives you a sense of like, am I hitting my land drops? Do these things curve properly? What about on turns where I want to play my commander? Is it competing with a bunch of other cards that have the same cost, and therefore I'm like, the curve doesn't work? Things like that. Playtesting is great on Moxville just to see how the first 3 to 5 turns go. Yeah. It's also important to test hands that don't have Soul Ring and the One Ring in them, because those like goldfishes are dramatically skewed. You're either starting off with a lot more mana than normal, or you're basically getting to a point in the game where you can just draw a million cards. And so they're not representative. So if I have a hand where the opening hand has Soul Ring or the One Ring in it, I just mulligan it basically, because it's not representative of the deck actually functioning. Or not of the deck how it normally functions without those cards. So back to the wheel. There are 20 Azorius decks, 15 Orzhov, 18 Boros, 22 Selesnya, 21 Dimir, 21 Izzet, 15 Simic, 17 Rakdos, 24 Golgari. So 15 Orzhov, and that again comes like Orzhov decks are mainly going to be stacks aggro, in which case they all mostly function the same way. And then tied for last is Simic, which also makes sense because similar to Mono Green, a lot of the Simic commanders kind of just do the same thing. Just generic like ramp card draw. And then when we get into 3 colors, Esper's at 12, Jeskai at 10, Vance at 8, Martyr's at 7. Abzan was at only 3, which I was kind of surprised by. And then there's Nai at 12, Grixis at 16, Sultai at 11, Temur at 10, Jund at 8. Then 4 colors is 6. I believe all 6 of them are in green as well. And then there's 25 5-color decks. That also was very surprising to me. And then 3 colorless decks. I think the colorless decks are offhand. It's Kozilek the Great Distortion, Hope of Ghirapur, and Liberator, I think, are the 3 colorless decks. Let me check. Zuladoc and Zuladoc, Liberator, and Kozilek. So not Hope of Ghirapur. Abzan got dirty, have 2 decks, Frodo Sam and Doran. Both are fun. There was also some decks that I abandoned, that I tried to build them, and then I abandoned them for not being good enough. Or really, not even so much like they were just disastrously bad. Like nothing worked with them. Or they might have like, there were 1 or 2 cards that synergized with the commander, but the deck was basically a train wreck. So I can try to remember them. I know Doran was one of those. So Doran, I saw this one. There's a mono white commander that does something similar that's toughness related. It's basically just Doran, but in mono white. So that card was irrelevant because why not just build Doran? The problem is if you try to like aggro and build it as there's a million like 1 mana 0/4s, right? The problem is even a 1 mana 4/4, like imagine it was just a 1 mana 4/4, that would already like barely be good enough in EDH. And the problem is doing anything with them. So then it requires that you play like a bunch of welcoming vampire type effects so that your 0/4s aren't just dead cards when you don't have Doran. And then the other problem is that when you're in Doran's colors, the only other card I believe that cares about the toughness is Assault Formation. So Huatli, the Planeswalker. So you've got Doran and you've got 2 other cards that care about toughness, but you're still not really doing anything that good. The only card that's actually good is Stone Skin, because it's plus 0/10. That's basically like additional 10 power. But then that kind of makes you want to go the Voltron route, and then there's not really anything that great in there either. So I just feel like Doran just doesn't function that well. Ensnaring Bridge is really good too. Ensnaring Bridge is not good because Ensnaring Bridge only works if you're empty-handed, in which case you're probably losing. Ensnaring Bridge only works if your if your commander has the ability to draw you more cards, or if you are drawing cards via impulse drawing. So you have cards, they're just not in your hand. That's really the only time they work. Bridge Doran seems hilarious. I mean, if you can get it to work, sure. I know there was a handful of I think there was like 2 other commanders that I tried to build them and then just gave up. But Doran's the only one I remember offhand. I think another one, Myra the Magnificent. So I felt like out of the commanders that opened attractions, that this was the best one, because you open attractions via casting spells, so you can just cast a bunch of cheap cantrips. The problem is that all the attractions just suck. There's the one that draws cards, and then there's another one that impulse draws you, so it's basically drawing cards, and then all the rest of them are terrible. You build Minsk and Boo for Gruul. I have not, but Little Mushroom Guy has asked me to critique their Gruul Minsk and Boo deck. I get very iffy on Planeswalkers because Planeswalkers are notoriously terrible in EDH. So Planeswalker commanders, not that I haven't built them before, I have, but usually want some way to combine with them. And usually what that means is you either want to play Ghostly Prison effects or you just want to play lots of sweepers. Clear the board, make sure that your guys can't get attacked. The big problem with Minsk and Boo is that you're in green, which means you want your ramp to be in the form of creatures. You're also making a creature, which admittedly you also do sacrifice, so not that big of a deal, but there's an inherent tension there. What were your favorite decks to build? My favorite decks to build are the ones that are really unique. So if we go to the decks, I'll just cover the ones that were, I guess so these ones are going to be my favorites, I suppose. So these ones are not necessarily like the best. They're just the ones that were the most fun. So let's see. Celestial Kirin was a really unique challenge. I don't know that it was necessarily fun to build. It was actually kind of aggravating to build, but it was very unique. Trying to figure out how to make it work. So, Celestial Kirin. I would say probably one of the stack decks like Adeline. The problem is they all sort of blur together. Light Pause. Light Pause because you had to figure out not only what auras you wanted access to, but you had to figure out auras on different mana values that you wanted to get because you could always use one to tutor another one that was cheaper. So you wanted to make sure, similar to like trying to build Birthing Pod, you wanted to make sure that you had the same effects at different mana values. And it was always interesting to figure out like, okay, so if I cast the one on 2, then what's the one on 1 that I get? Or if I give it hexproof or protection from colors or whatever on this mana value, then what's the next mana value that I'm tutoring for so that I cover all my bases? So that was pretty fun there. Mangara. It was fun trying to figure out how to get around the drawback. Audric Lunarch Marshal had like this matrix of different abilities that you needed to figure out how to add to the deck, although that was mostly just try to find the best cards, and then if they happen to have an ability, that's great. There's like 2 cards that have a bunch of abilities on them that were good though. Let's see what else. Baron was kind of interesting. I don't know, interesting or fun. Like, interesting and fun aren't the same things, but whatever. Theory was pretty good. Intellect. The ones that are the least fun to build or are the least interesting are the ones that are either just super generic, where they're just like generic value stuff, or the ones where you look at it and you go, instantly I know the exact combo that this card is going to use, and the whole deck is just going to be built very linearly to get that combo out. A Juan. Oh, Octavia was pretty fun. Let's actually start trimming this down. I think in terms of fun, that's fine. Okay. Octavia, Orvar, Rain, Mike. I know Iname Death Aspect was definitely one of the most fun ones to build because it was so difficult to figure out how to make it work. And it still kind of is just very janky. There's ones like Maryland that are very boring, right? It's basically just figure out how to get Maryland, an opposition agent, into play as fast as possible. That's it. Phage? I mean, there was the challenge of, like, how do I get Phage either into my hand or how do I negate the trigger? But that's not really, like, interesting. It basically just says there's a handful of cards that either put Phage into your hand or are just Torpor Orb. So, would like to see your Rose deck. I have one that's really fun, but seeing a high-powered version would be interesting. Sure, I can pull that up. The discard decks are kind of fun to figure out how to build, although I imagine they're probably incredibly annoying to play against. Auntie Blight was really fun to build because it was such a unique commander. Up Rose. Haysack was kind of interesting. I wouldn't say it was fun to build it though. The Fangbear was kind of interesting. Reki would have been a lot more fun if it had included lands in the draw ability. Sasaya was definitely a unique challenge. Some of the decks that are fun, like Sasaya and Gishath, for example, they're fun because going into it, you know, by definition, like, of what the card does, it's not going to ever be more powerful than another commander in the same color combination, so you may as well just have fun. Like Gishath, when your whole deck is built around cast your 8-mana Stompy Dinosaur and hope that you flip other big Stompy Dinosaurs off the top, like, that is already inherently not going to be the best Naya deck that you could build. So just play a bunch of big fun dinosaurs at that point. I think certain color combinations also lend themselves more towards decks that are more fun. Killian was pretty fun. Finding all the little cards that worked well specifically with Killian that wouldn't normally be playable, or that were much better due to Killian. Arabella was another one. Let's see. Commander Liara Porter was another one where you got to play stuff that you normally wouldn't play. And Liara Porter was also one that took me down the path of a lot of red aggro decks that play a bunch of impulse draw cards. That was pretty good too. Shadowfax I almost dumpstered before going back and trying it again because it initially came off as really bad. I remember that Taiwa Keen and Wily Duke in Selesnya were also kind of interesting, although it's been a while since I've built them. And what else? Jasmine Boreal was a request by someone in the chat, and this is the one I think I regret the most, because I think the deck just absolutely sucks, regardless of how you build it. But I don't want to just bin it. Which is like, I don't think the deck works at all. What is the spinner for? It's just to note this all down. I could have just had it on a text document, but I already have this up anyway. Thanks for giving it your all in the EDH deck building. It was a refreshing take on the process, and I respect your dedication. Thank you, William Lambert. Any fun tribal decks? Boreal was your request? Yeah, I just don't think there's any way that you can make the Vanilla Matters part. So if the Vanilla Matters part had like any sort of a payoff maybe, but the vanilla creatures themselves are terrible, and the payoff for them is also terrible. So I think the deck's probably just garbage. Basically, the only question is, do you want to play lots of small vanilla creatures and try to just, like, have a bunch of aggro? Or do you want to play the bigger, like, 6 mana vanilla creatures? Either way, I think all of them are, like, either strategy's awful. Are there fun tribal decks? There are a number of tribal decks, yes. And they're... Usually the tribal decks also tend to be more fun because you're built around a specific theme and not just, how do I min-max this one thing, right? So you'll play cards that you normally wouldn't play because of that. And I find those to be the most interesting commanders. The ones that are, I'm going to play this specific thing that's good in this deck because of the commander, but I normally would never bother with. Let's see. Scythe it. Wilson was probably the most fun Voltron commander to build. Arami's a really interesting deck. I don't know that it's necessarily fun to build, but it's definitely fun to play. So we could add Arami to the list. Circu, building Lantern Control in EDH. Definitely cool. John Irenissus. And to another extent, Zedru and Blim. All of the ones that are like the donate commanders, where you're playing in this really different way than you normally would, are all pretty interesting. Oscar was a kind of interesting deck building challenge. What else? Agar, because it was a commander that I initially dismissed, and then I went back and looked at it again, and it was a lot more fun to build around it. Irith is another good one. Joyra of the Gitu. What does Magnus the Red do again? Oh yeah, your tokens reduce the cost of instants and sorceries. That one didn't actually pay off as much as I had hoped it would. What's your favorite Legends legend? I like Jacques Levert. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Jacques. Oh, from actual Legends? I think they're mostly bad. I think the only good one's Rasputin Dreamweaver, right? What I found with her, I assume you're referring to Jasmine, is that you don't just have enough space to fit in ramp and draw, you have to play vanilla stuff, so you are automatically wasting space. Have you built the 6 mana vampire? I mean, Astarion? Yes. Delali was kind of interesting. River Song. Oh, another one that I gave up on was Volo Guide to Monsters. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control, or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. So first of all, this immediately means since Volo has to be in play, you can't play any humans or wizards, and that immediately takes an enormous amount of creatures off the table for you to run. And then the second problem with it is just the obnoxious, like, creature type matters matrix that you have to try to draw up to figure out what is the, you know, maximum diversity of creatures that I can play in different types that I can jam into my Simic deck, while also not just overlapping on a bunch of mana elves. Sounds like an absolute nightmare to build. Like I said, I'm not even going to try. Emoti was pretty interesting, trying to build like the Cascade commander. What else? I built all the good companions as commanders as well, so there's that. Tigris was like a little interesting. I don't know. Are we going through every single one of these? There's a lot. Therulf, I don't know that it was fun, but it was definitely interesting. How do you build a deck where you can't have any permanents that are cheap in your deck? Because you're going to exile them all. I'll go through all these decks that I haven't previously shown on the stream as well. So you don't worry, you're not going to miss any of it. If I can remember, I think I built like 100 off stream, like some crazy amount. We will be going through a lot. Volo plus Folk Hero is a funny inverse of Volo Guide to Monsters. There's the other Volo too, which I think had similar problems. I built Volo, but he's my least played deck. Mutate works well with Volo? Sure. How many good Mutate cards are there, though? Are there any? Other than the one that's an Is It that combos? Wild Seer was kind of fun to build. This was another commander that I initially thought was not going to be good enough to actually function, and then it wound up... Not that it's good, because it isn't, but it wound up having a lot of fun synergies. Like, the inverse of that would be like Oloro, where the commander just sucks, and there's like nothing good life gain matters-wise to pair it with it. And so it just winds up being like a generic Esper control deck with the Thoracle win. Gotta go by. Thank you for showing up, Chris. See ya. Sidar, Knight, Hinata, like anything like Hinata, where it's just very unique in what you're going to actually wind up playing. Some decks I built just on request of like YouTube comments, like Dogmeat, for example. Mael is a personal favorite of mine. Mael's probably my favorite deck ever. But part of that is like a nostalgia bias, because I actually had it built in paper during Battlecruiser Magic era, where, again, cards like Avenger of Zendikar were actually good. But it's still fun to, like, it's still really fun to goldfish it as well, so I don't think that's changed. Lind was pretty bad. There was a viewer request to build, and there's just not a good way to build curses. So it winds up just being a pretty mediocre deck. I don't like having decks where it's like nothing works, and you're just playing a bunch of mediocre cards, and you're all off curve, and everything's bad. Rocco Street Chef, my favorite deck for casual. What direction did you take it? I can pull that up too. Where is it? In the Naya section. That was one I built on stream as well. What else do we have? I try to give these commanders like unique names if I can, while still retaining the name of the commander so that they're searchable. But most of them don't get nicknames. Flubs was fun, even if I think it probably bricks a lot. Or Flubs. Beamtown Bullies. Shroud of Alara, similar to Sterolf, trying to figure out how do you get around the drawback of blowing up all your own stuff. The answer is you just don't play any permanents except for lands, for the most part. Oops All Spells in EDH, trying to figure out how to make that work. To the point where I even just call this deck Oops All Spells and I don't even care what the commander is. What is the commander anyway? Is it Jessica? Yeah. The Chaos deck was fun, but this is kind of cheating because the Chaos deck was a deck I already had built in paper at one point, so it was more so just like transcribing it down on digital. Initiative Monarch is also Essica, isn't it? Yep. Essica is pretty much the, do I have a 5-color strategy where I don't really care what the commander is? Just have it be Essica then. All right.
So this is what we ultimately wound up with in terms of like my favorites. But that's just what I'm remembering offhand for right now. Like obviously a lot of decks I built a long time ago, so I don't necessarily remember them that well. Is Oops All spell contain all the modal double-faced lands? It contains a lot of them. I think it contains every single one that comes in untapped, and then it contains a number of the ones that enter tapped. Your flubs list is so funny. I tried building around discard madness flashback stuff. I don't think you want that for the most part. I think you just want to turbo through your deck. Which means the problem with that is that you're usually going to brick at some point, but you can kind of get around it through Song of Creation and Abundance. But you're very limited in what you can actually hit. Or like what you can use to keep chaining through cards. We can probably do a play test of that too. Let me just pull clubs up. Anyway, so we have a request to show off, or to look at Boo. We'll do that, then we'll look at Rose, then we'll look at Rocco, then we'll look at Flubs. So Minskin Boo, go for the eyes, Boo. I presume that is a reference to these characters. I've never played any D&D stuff that's related to them. Is it tagged? No, it isn't. Okay. So, further reminder, it's a planeswalker that can be your commander, and on ETB and upkeep, you make a 1/1 legendary hamster with trample and haste. You can +1 to put 3 counters on one creature with trample or haste. Or, and the more important one is sack, or -2 sack a creature. When you do, deal X, so fling, and then you draw cards equal to its power if it was a hamster. So, the idea is you play Minskin Boo, you immediately put a hamster into play, you put 3 counters on the hamster, and then next turn you can -2 sack the hamster, deal 4 to something, and draw 4 cards. Or even more if you pump the hamster, right? And it doesn't matter if they kill your hamster, because every upkeep you're going to get another hamster, even if the original one died, right? So the way I would build it, if I was trying to build around it, is I would basically I would shift all of my ramp to being non-creatures, and then I would just play like a bunch of red sweepers to keep the board clear. I don't think there's any Pillow Fort cards that you can play in Gruul. So yeah, I would mostly just play a bunch of sweepers to keep the board clear. And then I would have, obviously, Minskin Boo, and then I would have cards that increase Boo's power. As cheap as I can get for as much power as I can get without it being permanent, obviously. So like a bunch of cheap pump spells, similar to like the Selvala deck, where you just try to make Minskin Boo really powerful. I would also look at any changelings that I could have in the deck, or maybe try Maskwood Nexus with some really powerful stuff just to see if that's something I could do. Although I imagine the only cards you'd really be able to go for are like Torian Mauler, maybe, because the creature needs to be a hamster. That might not be good enough, but I would look into it as well. Elephant Grass. Fog is a green Pillow Fort, kind of. Yeah, cards that are more than just one-offs, right? Especially important being cards that I can have in play, and I can cast Minskin Boo with no mana open in order to, but still be confident that Minskin Boo's not just going to get killed, right? Psychic Paper? I don't even know what that is. Psychic Paper. Becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name and a creature type. It's Ward 1, can't be blocked, and it has and its name and creature type are the last chosen type. Okay, so I'm paying 2 mana, and then it's automatically attaching? No, it's not. Becomes attached to a creature, choose the type. So I'm paying 4 mana to turn one thing into a specific type. At that point, you may as well just play Maskwood Nexus and name Hamster. Although that's another option. Is Spy Kit do the same thing, or is Spy Kit only change the name? It has all names of non-legends. Anyway, what are you running in here? I don't like 4 mana ramp, especially when you probably want to top out at your 4 mana commander. Decimate, that's also bad. Explore, Last March, Many Partings. I don't know why you would want this card. Is there a reason that you want the food? Rampant Growth, Rich Cards Expertise. Storm the Seed Core. Distribute 4 counters among up to 4 creatures you control. Not good. much, much better pump that you can get. I assume mainly we just want to go pump, fling, draw a bunch of cards, right? Then I don't care about +1 counters because I'm going to sack the creature anyway. So I just want to pump it as high as I can get, regardless of whether it's permanent or not, because it's not permanent. Can't be block clause works great when you put it on Alexios or Slicer. Yeah, a lot of people bring up Slicer as like a good commander. Why is that? I've looked at it. It's 5 mana, and it gets passed around, just some damage, but not a lot. I don't really get why that one is considered a good commander. Anyway, Allosaur Shepherd, Dragon Lord Atarka. Nope. So I get that the big payoff is like last March, a bunch of big creatures into play. I think you can do better than Atarka, though. Froghemoth. I am triggered that this card is not Froghemoth, in that it's just Froghemoth. Deal combat damage to a player, exile up to that many cards from their graveyard, put a +1 counter on this for each creature exiled. Gingerbrute, an Archimancer, Grumgully, Halana, and Alina. That's pretty bad. Halana and Alina too. You're only getting +2. 4 mana. Inferno of the Star Mounts. Okay, but I gotta dump a bunch of mana into this, right? So why would I want to do that? Quartzwood Crasher. Whenever one or more creatures is trampled, deal combat damage to player, create an XX, where X is the amount of damage. Questing Beast, Ragavan, Regal Behemoth, Ruby, Savala. Yeah, Savala makes sense. Not sure why Ruby. Divin Devastator, Stone Coil, Howling Abomination. Target spell gets +2, deals 2 damage. Foreign Collects. The counter one, Xenagos. This is only good if my creature is already good, which I guess if I have survived the hamster and plussed it, then it is doubling, but I could play other things that double the power without needing to pay 5, although Xenagos is reusable, so that's something to consider, I suppose. Don't know why you'd want Arlen. Domri is also not good because it only applies to creatures and not Minsc and Boo. No. What about the auras? What is a Void Fate? Swerve something? Counter target, instant, or aura that targets a permanent. That's way too narrow. Berserk. Choose your weapon. This one's double the power, right? Yeah. There's another one that also doubles the... Not power, but it's +1 counters. This one's... Yeah, that's fine. Friendly Rivalry. Target creature you control and up to 1 target legendary creature you control. Each deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. That's bad. Just... Guttural Response. I've not put Guttural Response in a single deck because there's other better things to play besides it. Broke Intervention, Bolt, Return to the Wild Speaker, and Return to Nature. Played a bunch of cards that care about +1 counters. I think Lotus Petal and the Spirit Guides are very good in this deck. The faster Minsc resolves, the more activations you can get before your opponents can respond to it. You are absolutely correct. And I would be playing as much fast mana and ramp as I could to get Minsc and Boo out as quickly as I could. Anyway, we've got Arnie, Bard class, Branching Evolution, Court of Garenbrig, Miri's Guile. Why Rhythm of the Wild? Again, only your creatures are uncounterable, so Minsc isn't. And the non-token clause also means that the hamster isn't. There and back again. Up to 1 creature, can't block for as long as you control this, so the ring tempts you, search for a mountain, and okay, I've already lost interest. 32, again, I've said this a million times. So were you the one who, like, you just happened to own a Gaia's Cradle, and that's why this is in here? Because, like, otherwise, having 8 forests, 6 mountains makes no sense if you don't have a budget. And yeah, stop playing Evolving Wilds, people. Please stop playing Evolving Wilds. Even if you're on a budget, this card's terrible. Care of the Hydra. Do you have any, like, infinite mana outlets in here? Kind of stuff? I don't think you do. Yeah, there's a lot that I would fix with this. It's probably a playable commander, but just not built like this. Let's see how quickly I can do this. I can't actually spend that much time on stream because I'm supposed to be somewhere. All right, I have have to go do something in an hour and 15 minutes, so we're not going to be here for that long, but all right, so let's dupe this. Actually, I don't need to dupe this. We can Minsk and Boo. Timeless heroes. Create. And then add bookmarks. Switch this to types and tags. Then starter kit, 2-color mono base, protection, protection, ramp, fast mana. I don't want to add all the card draw in here because it's going to be power and toughness related. And then I don't have a pump package, but we'll just add in kind of stuff. So let's, the best pump commander is Selvala. So let's just compare it to Selvala and add in all the best pump spells. This one. We don't need untappers. We just need the most power we can get. Greatest mana value. So this is +4 if you've got Minsk and Boo in play. Pretty close, but there's better. Step Oasis should be in our deck. Let's see what else. Embiggen. So how much is this on the hamster? It's creature, legend, hamster. So it's +3. Invigorate, Phyto Burst. Scale up. Do I not have Groundswell in here? I should have that too. Or I should have it in the Minsk and Boo deck, rather. Groundswell. And then another card that I discovered recently. I believe it's in my Halar deck. I don't remember what it's called, though. Where is that? Compare Halar. It's a 2-mana enchantment. Where is it? Oh, yeah. We also want this. Fangs of Colonia. Evolutionary Escalation. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 3 counters on target creature you control and 3 counters on target creature and opponent controls. One's great. And we also need to add in, not Bristol. We need to add in, what's the other mana doubler that costs 3? Color is green. This one, double power. Choose your weapon. Oh, you know what? I actually don't like this one because, well, no. I guess if we plus the creature, and we're paying 3 to give +4, essentially. Yeah, that's not good enough, actually. Legendary creature token hamster. Well, the token doesn't count. I'm talking about for Embiggen. So that's legendary creature hamster. That's 3. I wonder if there's anything else at +4. Let's see. ID blue red. +4/ and mana value equals. Well, that can't be right. Oh, blue red, I said. Green red. Equipment. If you control Huatli, no. If you target stack of food to get it, and then Vines is 2 mana because you have to kick it. And this is Metalcraft, it gets +4. That's actually not unreasonable. I still think that's probably not reliable, though. All right, so if it's at 2, then I want at least +5. Phyto Burst is like 7 or right? Oh, it is 5. Okay, Phyto Burst is 5, and none of the rest of this is good. So what about +6, +7? All right, yeah, I figured. And Berserk is double, and Berserk's fine because we don't care because we're gonna sack the creature anyway. When does Berserk actually trigger? Is it end of turn that it triggers? Beginning of the next end step, yeah. So I run Unleash Fury and Invigorate. What is Unleash Fury? Unleash. Double. Okay, so it's double the power for 2 mana. Why didn't that show up then? Uh, double power. Did I just ignore it by accident? Double strike, that's not the same thing. And this is more expensive. Yeah, okay. So we're good there. Now we need to do a bunch of cutting, a bunch of trimming, a whole bunch of trimming. So, and probably some addition. All right, first of all, on the card draw aspect, we can get rid of all this impulse draw nonsense, as we're not going to use that in this deck. So get rid of all of that. And then I don't need burnout. We can get rid of that. Then there is Augur Bottom. We're mostly not going to be playing creatures. We can get rid of this. Bergie, that's going to go to Commune. So we only care about the ones that are draw cards equal to power. Project, more of this. It's Impulse Draw. Jessica's Will might be an exception, though. Get rid of this. Last March can potentially stay. Life's Legacy for sure. Get rid of this. Get rid of Forge, Oran, Turn, Rishkar, Sandstone, Season. One goes. Gold Clamp is fine. Sylvan Library, Great Henge is going to be a no. And Toski's in. And then for fast mana, we basically want to jump from whatever mana we're at to Minskin Boo. So, like, Sticker Goblin's not actually a good example of that, because if we're ever tapping out for this, then it means we only have access to red. Whereas, like, Desperate Ritual would be better. So if we have, like, 3 lands, one of them's green, we go Desperate Ritual, tap, Minskin Boo on turn 3. That's fine. Elvish Spirit Guide. Generator Servant is also kind of similar. I'm not sure about that one. Infernal Plunge can go. So Jessica's Will is probably not good in that regard either, so let's get rid of that. Mana Geyser is also not good. Metamorphosis, no. Orcish Lumberjack, that's a yes. Pyretic, Reckless, Ride of Flame, Runaway Steamkin. We're not doing the repeatable ones. Satyr Hedonist is basically the same thing as Reckless Barbarian. And Seething's out. Skirk. I mean, hypothetically, that's okay. But the problem with Skirk is, so if you do it on the curve, this is no better than just playing a Mono Rock, because it's the same way. Like, turn 1, land, turn 2, land, Mono Rock, turn 3, Minskin Boo. Versus turn 1, Skirk, turn 2, no ramp, or you play ramp, but you're on the same path anyway, turn 3, Minskin Boo. It doesn't let you turn 2 the Minskin Boo, unless you've got multiple pieces of ramp into it, I guess. Go to Stormkiln, Urabrask, and then, like, all of the rest of this is potentially usable. And then we need to cut the lands that are off color, so that's Urborg and 3 fetch lands that are not in our color, which are Marsh Flats, Flooded Strand, and blue and black Polluted Delta, leaving us with 34, which is more lands than I want. Let's get rid of Reflecting Pool, Shifting Woodland in this deck. We don't have enough forests with this probably. Also, we're not going to be a Cradle deck because we're not going to play a bajillion 1-drop creatures, so we can get rid of Cradle as well. And if we're getting rid of Cradle, that means I no longer need Crop Rotation. Also, Cavern of Souls is not relevant to us because we're not a creature, so take that out. So now we're at 30 lands. Where's Bridgeworks? Bridgeworks. And now that leaves us with all of this stuff. So I mostly want to get rid of the creatures because I'm mostly going to play Sweepers. Oh, we need to add Sweepers in the deck too. Dousing Dagger? Isn't that just... But you have to equip it onto a creature, right? I don't want to do that. Well, let's look at it before I say no. Enters, target opponent creates 2 plants. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Equipped creature deals combat damage to a player. Transform the dagger into a land... into the Black Lotus of lands, or Lotus Field, basically. Yeah, not that. All right, so we're going to get rid of all the creature ramp. Basically, if it's a creature and it's ramp, it's going to get gone. So get rid of all of that. Does the Lighted Halfling count for your commander period, or is it... cast a legendary spell. I might make an exception for Delighted Halfling in that case. But everything else is going. This one. We're not going to play medallions in our 2-color deck. Yeah, Exploration, Explorer, Fanatic, gone. Actually, Fanatic I'm going to keep as well. And the reason is because it survives all the 3 damage sweepers. Although that's potentially wrong. Belwar, Fire Diamond, Finhorn, Anarchomancer, Hedron, Ironmer, Medallion, Llanowar Elves, Monacan, Milliken, Amber, that's gone. Convert, Opal, we might have enough for. Ornithopter, Palladiumer, Pearl, Medallion, where's that? Legmer, Priest, Facebreaker, and Ragavan, Ruby Medallion, Sanctum Weaver, Sapphire Medallion, Somberwald, and then let's get rid of Worn Power Stone. So that gives us a 27 ramp, that's too much. So we'll have to pare that down as well. Probably cutting colorless stuff. What if we just cut all the colorless rocks, except for Thought Vessel? So get rid of Old Steel Heart, Chalice. I guess the 1-mana ones too can go. No, the 1-mana ones don't need to go. Actually, keep Cold Steel. Get rid of Power Stone, Liquid Metal Torque, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens, Iron Crag. And then how many actual artifacts does that leave us with? Maybe, okay, so we have 18 still. All right, so Opal's probably fine. It goes on Boo so easy. But then you have to have Minsc and Boo out. I want ramp that lets me cast Minsc and Boo. Ozolith? Yes, that makes sense. Ozolith. All right, so we're in green, so we don't actually need Wild Magic Surge or Chaos Warp, so we can get rid of those. And then let's get rid of our creature protection. So Allosaurus Shepherd is similar to Halfling, but Halfling at least ramps us. So I'm going to get rid of Allosaurus Shepherd, get rid of Destiny Spinner, Doson, Guy's Herald, Guardian Augmenter, Greaves, obviously, Rhythm, Healy Resolve, yeah, Sylvan Safekeeper, and Vexing Shusher and Xantid Swarm. All right, so that leaves us with some protection, but not a lot. And then we've got 10 pump spells, including Hashep Oasis as a land. Then draw is all this, that's fine. And then we're probably going to wind up cutting a lot of like extraneous cards from the same category. Like the worst ones in each category. All right, sweepers. Get rid of Dust and Ugin. And then this one blows up all the artifacts, right? That could be a reason to move away from artifacts. Mox Opal is a strong reason to be in artifacts, but there's other reasons not to be. If we are not in artifacts, it means we get to play all of the artifact destruction cards. So things like Bane of Progress, Brotherhood's End, like all that stuff. I'm going to get rid of Creep and Corrosion because I know that's going to... Creep and Corrosion and Shatterstorm are going to be redundant to what we're trying to do. I'll get rid of Scrap Mastery. We're not using that. All right, how many cards are we actually at right now? We're at 113, so we're over budget and we still have to add stuff. Explore is not reliable, so I'll get rid of that. As is, same thing with Exploration. It's also not reliable, so I'll get rid of that. And then Fanatic of Ronus, at least in this deck. I mean, you're making Boo into a 4/4, so it sometimes is going to tap for 4. That's fine. 19 ramp, this is pretty good. So anything here that is essentially redundant? So the only way that, like, Desperate Ritual, for example, lets us cast Minsc and Boo is on turn 3, when we have 3 lands in play already. However, you could say the same thing about any of the 2 mana acceleration, because they essentially all of those function the same way as well. So I don't think we want Desperate or Pyretic. Rite of Flame basically also functions the same way. So they only work in combination of like having multiple fast mana into each other. You have to go like ritual into another ritual into Minsc and Boo. That's probably fine, actually. I don't like the inability to have mana next turn, though. That's the big one. Get rid of Grim Monolith. Get rid of all the one-offs. That's fine. Like Rite of Flame, Wild Cantor, Skirk, Reckless, Strike It Rich. Tinderwall's good because it's 2 for 1. And you can cash it in over multiple turns. Like Tinderwall is actually something that lets you go from turn 1 to a turn 2 Minsc and Boo. And then Treason Sober, that one's irrelevant. And the 2 mana ones are the same, like Generator Servant, Vessel, and Satyr Hedonist. All of those are the same. All right, that's fine. But all of these can potentially let us go turn 2 Minsc and Boo, so we'll keep all of these. Then we've got all the pump. That's all fine. Do I want to blow up enchantment along with the artifacts? So the only enchantments we have are Wild Growth Utopia Sprawl. And Sylvan Library, right? It's basically those ones. Let's just make sure. And like a handful of other ones too. We've got Seeds and Meltdown for artifacts along with Brotherhood's End. And then we've got the bigger ones. Let's cut. We're playing a fair number of artifacts ourselves, so I would rather not sweep all the artifacts. So let's get rid of Meltdown, Seeds. I wonder, we can just transition into not playing artifacts, I suppose. I want to switch that around. Like, put Meltdown back in, put Seeds back in. Let's see, if I cut all the other artifacts, we can add in... We already have Lore, Visits, and Farseek, so I'd have to add in Basic Searchers and then probably switch some of my mana around for more basics. I don't really want to do. So it's a trade-off either way. Either we're worsening the mana base and playing a bunch of Basic Searchers, or we're cutting probably all the things that blow up all the artifacts. Let's take a look at Elephant Grass. Doesn't Elephant Grass have cumulative upkeep, though? Yeah, black creatures can't attack you, non-black creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays an additional 2. Problem is the cumulative upkeep. What about EDH, ID, red and green, can't attack you, and has to say creature. So there's nothing except Sandward Convergence at 8 mana. So yeah, we got to rely on all the cheap sweepers. Isn't attacking you not the same as attacking a planeswalker? Yeah, but I believe all of the ones that are like that are worded in that way. So I guess can't attack planeswalker. Yeah, the same list. I think there's like one card that specifically singles out planeswalkers, but it's in white. All right, let's cut all of the mass artifact kill. So Seeds, Bane, Ansrath's, Ansrag's Rampage, Fade, Meltdown, Structural Assault. Because I can't think of any other ramp we would be able to play that would be non-artifact based. There's a 2-mana 0/4 creature and taps to add mana, Overgrown Zealot. And then there is some basic land searchers, which again entails that I change up this mana base to be a worse mana base. in the interest of having enough basics. I could probably cut Yavimaya plus Pinnacle Monk could maybe go, or just, yeah. And then maybe like Bridgeworks and like Rockfall Vale or something. Not unusable. What are all the basic searches? It's Rampant Growth, Sakura Tribe Elder, Into the North, Edge of Autumn. Are those all of them? Search, library. Oh, Glimpse the Core for forests. Forest or basic. Battlefield. Yeah, Edge of Autumn. Glimpse. Rampant. Sakura Tribe Elder. And is that everything? Oh, Into the North is worded differently. It says snow, not forest or basic. Into the North. All right, well, let's add the sweepers back in that case. I think the ability to blow up all of our opponent's artifacts is probably worth more than having to tweak our mana here and our ramp here. So let's get rid of Arcane, Cold Steel, Felwar, Fire Diamond, Gruul Signet, Mox Opal, Talisman, and Thought Vessel is an unfortunate loss as well, but that's acceptable. And then we need to probably play, so we've got, in terms of forest fetch ability, there's 3 visits and Nature's Lore, but those can fetch duels. Farseek also fetches one of the 2 duels in our deck. And then that leaves 5 cards that go and fetch basics, right? Tribe Elder, Rampant, Nature's, or yeah, Into the North, Glimpse, Edge. Plus the ones that fetch 4, plus the other 3 ones that fetch lands, which hypothetically could fetch one thing or the other. All right, let's cut Bridgeworks. Bridgeworks is just such a nice addition to this deck, but yeah. Let's see. We can cut Rockfall Vale, Yavimaya. I guess Copperline. And then add a second mountain, and then 1, 2, 3. Nature's Lore 3 visits? Yeah, those included as well. That's probably good enough right there. So we have 31 lands, 16 ramp, right? Yeah. I think I'm good with that. Where's our actual protection spells again? So anti-counter ability is, oh, not Bolt. Oh, Bolt Bend? We have to have the hamster in play already, and we don't care if they kill the hamster yet. Get rid of Bolt Bend. So it's City, Defense Grid, Delighted Halfling, and Ricochet, Trap, and Veil to stop getting countered. And then we don't need Untimely or SWAT. Let's get rid of those. Then get rid of Scrap, get rid of Dust, get rid of Ugin. And then we're not going to need Vandal Blast if we're blowing up everything. So that leaves, yeah, Bane, and we're probably going to want more sweepers. So right now we've got Brotherhood's End, Chain Reaction, and Structural Assault to some degree. So 3+ ish sweepers. So the other ones are what? Anger the Gods, Shatterstorm. Anger the Gods and Slagstorm. Are there any other ones that are good? I don't even know that we'd want to play Anger. ID, red and green. Let's say mana value is 5 or less. Damage to each creature. What do you think about Colossification? Costs a lot, but that's 21 and 21. It's just too expensive. Way too expensive. I don't care about 7 mana to draw 21 cards. I care more about like scale up, 1 mana to draw 6. And my goal is probably not to kill people with just the hamsters. It's probably to just draw a bunch of cards and use that to actually play all the things that are going to win the game. Yeah, there's Anger, Anger the Gods. Wow, 135 results. Okay, so we need to narrow this down. So not one of them is going to be an instant, right? These are all going to be sorceries. I guess Kozilek returns an instant. That's 2 damage only. There's Anger, Brotherhood's End. Burn Down the House is 5 damage, but it's also 5 mana, so I'm not interested in that. Fire Spout's 3 for 3. Flame Break. Triple red, and it's only 3. Hour of Devastation is also 5 for 5. Probably not going to be interested in that. Radiant Flames is 3 for 2. Pyroclasm's 2 for 2. I think it has to be above 2 damage. The Earthquake spells. Problem is, I don't think I'm ever happy paying the amount that I get out of it, right? Like, I'm not happy paying 3 for 2. 4 for 3 is also bad. So, ignore that one. Subterranean Tremors. Storm's Wrath is 4 for 4. I also don't think I like that, really. That one's okay. Nah, I think we're good on maybe Storm's Wrath. Now, you know what? I would prefer curves. I want to go sweep, then cast Minskin-Boo. So if I am going to add more sweepers, it's going to be one of these 3 mana ones. So cycling this for 3 is awful. So probably just Anger. Okay, let's add Anger. I don't think I want any more than that, though. And then we can figure out what are the best ones to do. So there's Bane of Progress, which can hypothetically get really big, although it's the most expensive out of all of these. And then Onsrog's Rampage is, how many do we exile? Exile. For all artifacts you don't control, then exile the top X, where X is the number of artifacts that died. You may put a creature exiled this way onto the field, gains haste, return it to your hand on the end step. Okay, that's fine. And then Structural Assault I like because it hits everything. And then Meltdown and Seeds are the next lowest ones. So those are good. So that means we don't want Shatter, Storm, or Creeping Corrosion. However, Fade from History also hits all the enchantments, so that's something. Hero's Blade is a good low investment buff spell. Sure. And it will automatically attach to each new hamster, right? Yeah, Hero's Blade's a good one. Where is Hero's Blade? Yeah. Every legendary creature enters, attach the blade to it. It's plus 3. That's fine. I like that it costs nothing. It's the same reason why I like Evolutionary Escalation, because I can play this on a previous turn, and then then the turn after I do Minskin-Boo, I don't have to invest any mana into this. So, I think, are we under budget now? Because I cut a bunch of stuff. Yeah, we're 95. There's what else? There is Chandra's Outrage. No, that's the wrong. Is it Outburst? No, it's not. What is the what is the one that's 5? Target your guy, deal damage equal to everything else. The sorcery, right? Chandra's Ignition, that's what it is. And wasn't there another card that got printed recently that's like Ignition? It's very, very similar to Ignition, right? Waltz of Rage from Duskmourn. Target creature you control deals damage equals its power to each other creature. Until end of turn, whatever creature you control dies, exile the top. You may play it this turn. That's kind of the same thing. Sure. Right now, we've got a bunch of our ramp into the Minskin Boo with a bunch of sweepers and pump spells for the hamster. I did talk about using Maskwood Nexus and other things. I think that's probably not efficient enough. And then what do we've got? We've got, so Berserk is, so assuming we have hamster, that, I mean, because there's going to be times when they kill our hamster, but let's assume that doesn't happen. So there's Minskin Boo, hamster, plus hamster, and then pump it, right? So this equals 1 mana for 4. This is 2 mana for 3, but we don't have to pay anything the turn we use it. Fangs is 2 mana for 5, because it goes to 5 and then doubles it. No, so it's plus 6, actually. Then there's Groundswell, which is 1 for 4. Hashep, which is the worst one out of all of these, but it's a land, so that's fine. Invigorate is 0 for 4, so it's probably the most efficient one out of all of them. Then there's Might of Old Krosa, which is 1 for 4. Phytoburst, which is 2 for 5. Scale Up, which is 1 for... It makes it 6, and then it retains the counters. So it's either... So it's plus 5, basically. It's 1 for 5, right? And then Unleash Fury is 2 for 4. We could play Scales and all that, but I don't care about that stuff. That's whatever. I'm not going to pay 1 mana to get 1 more counter on my hamster. So then the next thing is, how do we win? Like, obviously we can keep flinging hamsters at people, but that's not doing that much damage in total. We can also increase the damage output, so we can play cards like Dolphim or Furnace of Wrath. But even then, we're not doing that much damage. Like, we're basically saying, opponent, instead of taking 4 from this hamster, you're taking 8 from the hamster. Like, okay, sure. We still have to keep Minskin Boo in play for like a long time. So I don't think that works for the most part. I think the better option would be using all of the cards that we're drawing to draw us into either a combo or just like a big threat. And it's especially good with, where is it? Last March of the Ents, right? Because then we can just put all of our creatures into play. I don't know what we're doing exactly, though. Let's go ahead and look at Rec. What would be my preferred payoff to actually win the game? It's not going to be Craterhoof. And our ability to generate infinite mana and then do something is pretty limited in this deck. It could just be a big creature, but there's no one big creature that's going to single-handedly take over the game. It could be like Kozilek and Ulamog, since at least we can reuse them. Or, I suppose, Blightsteel. Void Winnower would be pretty good. Drawing it, that was my strategy. Drawing into strong creatures that remain on the field boos just a draw damage engine. Does Kedis care about combat damage only? Combat damage only. And also it's a creature that has to not die to any of our sweepers. So yeah, there's that problem as well. Do I want Fade from History to blow the enchantments up to, and Bane of Progress to blow the enchantments up to? Probably. I don't think we have any enchantments that are like absolutely critical. Oh, I guess we probably don't need Kenrith's Transformation if we're already blowing the field up a whole bunch. And Force Vigor and Nature's Claim kind of the same way. Like, if we've got a bunch of sweepers that are dealing with this anyway, we probably don't need this stuff. We can just get rid of those, and that opens up more space in the deck. Anything else that I'm just like, this doesn't have to be here. Like, all the protection needs to be here. Ozolith is maybe debatable, along with Hero's Blade. And these also work very badly with our plan to blow all the artifacts up, but whatever. And then there's like all the card draw, which some of this is perhaps redundant. Like Rishkar's Expertise is probably the worst one out of all of these. We don't need all of them. Yeah, let's get rid of Rishkar, I guess. And I'll be getting rid of Last March if We don't have a bunch of big creatures to play. Another option is just have planeswalkers, right? Because, like, hey, all of our other planeswalkers are also going to survive the sweepers in the same way that Minsc and Boo is. So, 5 and under, we're going to get a lot of results, right? Oh, yeah. Type planeswalker. Scale up makes Boo lose hamster. Oh, does it? Oh, scale up changes its type, right? Hang on. Where's scale up? And becomes a green worm. You are right. I assume myself and many other people don't remember that clause, but yes, you are correct. So yeah, let's get rid of that. All right, format, EDH, ID, red or green. Mana values. I guess there's, how many planeswalkers are there going to be? Type planeswalker. There's 83. We can go through this pretty fast. Most of these are going to absolutely suck, so that's fine. We can just cut through a bunch of this. All the Chandras are probably not going to be what we want. Domri is like, I guess, ramp, kind of. But just... I don't want the fight ability on it either. Garruk's fine because it's a draw spell. Garruk Wildspeaker is not fine. Jessica, don't care about that. Arns. I don't even need this card because I'm blowing up all the artifacts anyway. This one makes it really, really big creatures. But I don't really want it. Oh, we could Luca. That's a thought. How many creatures do we actually have in our deck, right? It's the Lighted Halfling, Fanatic of Ronus, and is that it? Because if we opt not to run those, we could polymorph into an actually big payoff. That sounds like a solid strategy. So there's Luca. There's also Transmogrify. We're not going to use Creativity. I think, are those the only ones? No. The Dauntless one is also in red. All right, but aside from that strategy, what else here would I care about? Probably nothing. Brennan 6. Yeah, maybe. All right, and then there's Transmogrify. I don't remember what the other one's called. I just remember that it has Dauntless. Oh, it's called Divergent. Divergent Transformations. Doesn't it have... Oh, it's Undaunted, not Dauntless. Exile 2 target creatures. Oof. How do we do that, though? Because we got the one hamster. So this doesn't actually work because the hamster's legendary. We'd have to have, like, Dryad Arbor or something to go grab. Anyway, so which creatures do we have access to? Oh, we actually have a fair number of stuff in, like, fast mana. I definitely don't want to transmog into these things. I could, like, okay, out of all of these, like, Disciple's pretty nice, and it's nice to have some of the fast mana, but I don't think any of these cards are actually critical for the deck. It's basically like, which is better, having the ability to, like, of cutting all of this and having the ability to polymorph into the big creatures that can win the game versus having the fast mana that's going to allow for getting Minsc and Boo into play faster. This is also a lot to cut. I would have to, like, reconfigure which ramp we're playing. What are the other cards besides Transmog, Divergent, and Luca? Are those all of them? There's the other Luca, the Modal Luca, right? That one's white, though, so I can't run that. What are we transmogging into? Void Winnower, Kozilek, Ulamog, probably those. All right, I'm going to say that that's probably not going to function. So let's just sideline those ideas for the minute. How are they all worded, by the way? So it's reveal cards until blah happens, right? Yeah. So it'd be so it'd be reveal card, library, creature, battlefield. 50 results. Chaotic transformation. Oh, I guess it also has to not be a creature, right? So we can narrow it down further with that. I don't think there's any beyond those three that we found, though. All the other ones rely on some sort of condition. Creativity also hits artifacts, so that's a no-go as well. All right, yeah, that looks fun. Okay, we're not going to do the polymorph plan. And then, yeah, Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, Kozilek, Butcher, Void Winnower. I would prefer a cheaper kill condition, but if that's all we can get, then that's fine. All right, so what does EDH Rec say? Minsk and ampersand. Ooh, timeless hero. All right. Oh, do I have Thornspire Virgin here? No, I don't. Okay. Torian Mauler, yeah, as expected. I don't think we want that, though. Yeah, I don't think we want that. We're just going to keep making Boo every turn anyway. So. Wolverine. Forgotten Ancient. Yeah, okay. Alina. No, don't care about that. There's Fangs. The branching evolution is double counters, right? So Minsk adds 3 counters, right? You're paying 3 mana to make 3 counters. That's not worth it. And then, yeah, we're mostly going to avoid creatures because of our game plan so far. But let's just see if there's any creatures. Yeah, there's Xenagod, which is also essentially 5 mana to give +4. But it's able to do it repeatedly every turn. But it's not great. Vorinclex, Colonian Hydra, same deal. Although, hypothetically, some of our creatures do get big enough that they don't get swept by a red burn, so there's something to be said for those, but I just don't think we want them. Vigor. That one's also, like, tempting, but it's just too expensive. The hamster has haste, right? Enters, trample, and haste, yeah. Incubation Druid, because you can play Druid and then put the counters on it and tap for 3. Yeah, that doesn't matter. And I'm not going to play Toski. Atali's pretty good as a top end card. Yeah, Atali, what is it called? Primal Conqueror? Alta, don't care about that. Each creature with +1 counter on it gets +1 for each counter. Yeah. All right, instants. Fling. I don't want flings because my commander already flings and I don't want to do the damage to just one person. Invigorating Surge is the same thing as Fangs, right? Put a +1 counter on target creature, then double the number of counters. So this is 3 for +4. Yeah. Maybe Reality Scramble can target non-creature permanents as well. Is that The 7 mana colorless spell. Oh. The target permanent you own on the bottom of your library, reveal cards from the top until you reveal a card that shares a card type with it. Alright, that is another polymorph. Excuse me. But yeah, we're off the polymorph plan. Although, that's a good one to know about. I guess, like... I think the problem is I have too many creatures. If I had, like, 3 creatures that weren't good hits, that might be one thing, but... Bricking up to 10 times is pretty bad. Cameo safekeeping. Why do I want to protect the hamster? Like, even if they kill the hamster, whatever, I just make another hamster. Noxious Revival. That one's a maybe. Hunter's Insight. I guess I do have to occasionally... Like, I can't just minus Minskin Boo multiple times in a row, right? I do have to... actually commit to plussing it again. Like, I can't just keep using the sacrifice ability every single turn. What's a way to mitigate that? Doubling Season? Also pairs nicely with the +1s. Bad on the curve, but at least that's something. Doubling Season is the only one that applies to Planeswalkers, right? Like, Vigor doesn't apply to that. Tokens +1 counters. Yeah, okay. Mutagenic growth because it's free. Nah. Autumn's Veil. Okay, yeah, we do need to protect Minskin Boo. And we don't have access to that much protection because we're not playing creature protection. So, sure. Autumn's Veil. You know what? At that point, am I just going to take the risk that whatever, my Allosaur Shepherd will just die if I sweep the board? Like, who cares? Yeah, I'm good with that. Allosaurus. Or Xantids, I guess, would be the same thing. Maybe. We'll come back to that. I also want to see if there's like a Pillow Fort card in red-green. I'm sure... So I know there's no Ghostly Prison effect, but I wonder if there's like whenever a creature attacks you, deal X to it or something. All right, here's our sorceries. This is all whatever. Clean now. Use 3 modes. Put 2/1 counters on a creature. So it's 4 for 6. That's not worth it. Natural Order is pretty good insofar as we always have a free creature to sack with it. I don't know what you get with it, though, because I don't think any of our big payoffs are green yet, but we can come back to that. +1 counter on creature, then double the counters on it. Yeah, okay. Cost X less, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own. So the flashback is 4 mana, or no, it's 6 mana. Ozolith, Hamster Tribal. Mirror Box. You can keep making more hamsters, right? That's also not worth it. Then Maskwood for the other ones. Mage Slayer, whenever a creature attacks, deals damage equals power to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Lamp. Natural growth to double it. Combat is also no. All will be 1. So +1 equals 3 damage to something. Also no. And there's Colossus. There's Rancor. I think most of this is not worth it. Rowan's Talent. Loyalty +2/0 first strike trample. Whenever you activate loyalty ability, copy the ability. Bard class. I have Greater Good in my deck, right? Yes. Blood Moon, really? That's ambitious. There's the Planeswalkers and there's all the lands. I'm not going to bother with Wolf Run or any of those. All right, so I don't agree with the other options that are left in here. So let's try to figure out what the actual payoff is then. So let's go with... we need a natural order target. So it needs to be at least green and needs to be a creature and needs to probably cost a lot. So like 6 or more. Let's just pare it down to the rares and sort it by rank order. No, and we don't have the widespread board that's necessary for Craterhoof to be good, so that's a no. And this is not green on its front face, so that doesn't count. Not Vornclex. Nyx Bloom, no. I need like something that's packs a punch. I guess Avenger is playable, but I wouldn't play Natural Order just for that. Ogla, Terrastodon, Bane of Progress. Natural Ordering for Bane of Progress is a nice option to have. I suppose that's good. There's the one that fights everything. I like that one. Also, this other Galta is a way to cheat more stuff into play. So yeah, we can add Galta, Stampede, Tyrant. And at that point, we're over budget, right? So anything else that I add, I have to subtract something else. And I am probably interested in subtracting some other cards because I don't think that's enough alone because we've got Atali, Galta, Kozilek, Ulamog, Void Winnower, and that's only 5 creatures. Bane of Progress is hypothetically big, but it's just those 5. I'd like more. Little Monodorks are there to chump block or Minsc and Boo until you find a sweeper. Yeah, you don't need that. And chump blocking sounds really bad. All right, so Season of Gathering has multiple modes that you can pick from. So the main place that we probably want to take away from is we probably have too many of the same, like, redundant card, right? So how many things do we have that blow up artifacts and enchantments, right? It's Bane, Onslaugh's Rampage, Structural Assault, Seeds, Meltdown, Fade from History, Brotherhood's End. So that's 7 cards that can all mass sweep artifacts. And then mass sweeping of creatures is Anger, Brotherhood's End, Chain Reaction, Chandra's Ignition, Structural Assault, Waltz of Rage, which is 6. That's a lot. Let's get rid of Anger, and let's get rid of probably Waltz of Rage. Target creature deals damage equal to power to each other creature. So a normal hamster will be 4 power. So this is 5 to deal 4. So that's actually worse than the other 4 mana sweeper that deals 4 because it costs more. And then we can probably get rid of one of these like artifact destruction cards. So there's Onsrogs. I want to keep Onsrogs. How much damage are we realistically dealing to our opponents here? Like probably 4, maybe more than that sometimes. It's 1 mana more expensive and it also fizzles if they kill your hamster in response. So let's get rid of that too. And then I think the rest here are good. And then we've got all these draw spells. The worst one is Season of Gathering at 6 mana. Disciples just slots in as a land. And then we've got Garruk, Greater Good, where you do have to discard some cards, but it also is a card where you don't have to keep spending mana on it. And then there's Last March, which is the most expensive, but also cheats in all of our guys. Life's Legacy, Momentous Fall. We don't care about the fact that we're sacking the creature because we're going to lose the creature anyway. I guess if you have like Return to the Wild Speaker, you can do it twice, assuming you can sack the hamster. Although probably you're not doing that the same turn because probably you're going hamster plus it, then sack it. Let's get rid of Return to the Wild Speaker and possibly Momentous Fall. Why no Deflecting Swat? Do we need to protect Minsc and Boo from removal? Like, how many removal spells shoot Planeswalkers? It's out of bolt range immediately, and that just leaves, like, all-purpose removal spells like Assassin's Trophy. Creatures that refund their mana cost are good for beatdowns. Goldspan Dragon, Goldwing Hydra, Atsushi. Yeah, but I just don't want to sack anything that isn't just the hamster, because I always want to draw cards. I don't want to sack a random creature to fling it. I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree. Let's get rid of Momentous Fall. Get rid of that. I might bring that back in, though. So I added Galta. Let's add Altasaur? Yeah, Altasaur. It gives me another thing to natural order for. So right now I can natural order for the Galta to put everything in, Bane of Progress to blow up all the non-creatures, and then Apex to kill all the creatures. So it gives me a natural order package. So Apex Altasaur. And then let's disengage this from green. Let's just search for the best creatures, period. So there's this Atali, which I don't really like because I have to attack with it. Battle Sphere, I also don't care about. Craterhoof would be in the deck if we had a go wide board, but we don't. And then I don't particularly care about these dragons that just make a million treasures. Like, they're fine. But if I'm at the point where if I'm cheating them in, that's one thing. But there's the only one that's cheating stuff in is natural order. And they still have to actually attack the opponent is the other problem. And then if I'm ever casting them normally, then I'm at an amount of mana where it doesn't matter. Vorinclex might be good, not this one, the other one. Because it's pseudo stacks. Vorinclex, what is the original one even called? Voice of Hunger? We get more mana, our opponents have their mana half disabled. Rough Triplets for natural order? Nah, we don't need that. I'm taking the stance that I'm not flinging anything but the hamster. Open Drill, the double. Yeah, again, that's not great because we want a wide board. And Kogla, we need like shenanigans with it, and we don't have that. Dracus, I don't want anything where I go get it and then I have to attack for it to do anything. Except for Kozilek and Ulamog. Because Annihilator 4 is real good. Blightsteel, which is also fine. Yeah, I guess Blightsteel's good. Minsc is the one that does the damage, right? Minsc and Boo deals X damage to the target, where X is the power. I guess hypothetically we could play Blightsteel, but that doesn't seem great. But Blightsteel. How many removal spells actually kill Minsc and Boo? Assassin's Trophy. The 3-mana all-purpose ones like Void Rend and Anguished Unmaking that aren't around that much. Some bounce spells like Into the Floodmaw, and then you can just replay it. Doesn't seem great. All right. We've gone through all of that already. Terastodon. I'll pass on Terastodon. It That Betrays is another pretty good one. But I think we can pass on that too. Balefire Dragon's also pretty good. I'm looking for more immediate value or just like game-crushing dominance, where when you get the creature out, like, boom, the game is pretty much over. Cityscape Leveler obviously doesn't have an ETB thing, but how many giant creatures do I actually have right now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would like more than that. I would like 2 more and have at least 10. The lead candidates are probably Terrastodon and Balefire. Oh, Rorikthar? Nah, we play too many non-creature spells for that to work. Emrakul, the other Kozileks and Ulamogs. What does Woodland Bellower get us if I were to play that one? I don't think anything. Any destroy exile permanent spell? There's like Meteor Golem, but it's so weak. All right, let's do Terrastodon. And Blightsteel. Oh, we already have Blightsteel. Balefire. Okay. So that's the deck. Here's the link. Minsk and Boo. Now, I just want to make sure, let's just play test this. Man, I need to leave really soon. All right, let's do this quick. So here's a quick play test session. So Gemstone Caverns for turn 1. I assume I'm on the draw. And exiling Meltdown, because we've got Chrome Mox in our hand. So let's get rid of this. Then we draw for turn. We go Forest, tap, put Wild Growth here. And then Chrome Mox out. Get rid of City. Tap, tap, Farseek. Go grab Stomping Ground. Next. And then turn 2, cast Minsk and Boo. And then from there, we go to the next turn. Then we can either sack the Minsk and Boo, or we can do we can pump it again and then Life's Legacy. So we make it a 7/7. Actually, we go 7/7, tap Skull Clamp, tap, put it on the Minsk and Boo, put it on the Boo, 8 power. Then we go Life's Legacy, eat the Boo, and we're gonna draw 10 cards, right? Let's try another one. Mountain, da da da. Okay, so turn 1. Oh, wait, draw a card. Turn 1, fetch. I go grab Taiga. And then play Tinderwall. Pass the turn. Next turn. Land, tap, tap. Sack. Minsk and Boo on turn 2. Boom. Restart. Ball ring hand. All right. Try a different hand. All right, so this one is... Would this deck actually want City Traders in it? I think no. So draw for turn, then go fetch, go grab Taiga. And Chrome Mox, eat Bane of Progress. And tap this for 3 visits. Go grab Stomping Ground. then untap, and then we just play another land and cast Minsk. Okay, try again. All right, this is a hand that has some of the bigger stuff in it, so let's try keeping this hand. So we draw for our first turn, we go fetch, go grab Stomping Ground, and we can't do anything else. So then next turn, fetch, go grab Taiga, and then Edge of Autumn, tap, tap, go grab Forest. Next turn, we bricked. Okay, so that's unfortunate, but you know, it's gonna happen. Next turn, brick, 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 we lost the game. Restart. Okay, this hand's just amazing. So draw for turn, go this, Lotus Petal. How do I guarantee that I play Minsk and Boo next turn? I don't think I can. Tap this, play Delighted Halfling. Untap. Yeah, we didn't hit our land, but we can go. Tap, tap. These both enter tapped, right? Yeah, that's fine. So we go tutor another land and then next turn. Or the One Ring, whatever. This one, okay, so back this, Taiga, tap, Orcish Lumberjack. Then next turn we go land, tap this, sack this for 3 mana, tap this, play Minsk and Boo. Make the hamster. Give it +3. Next turn, land. From here, it's probably what? Like, our lack of infinite hand size is kind of a problem, but not really. We'd probably just, like, keep pumping Boo or just fling it. It depends on what our opponent's doing. We can just cast Glimpse, or if not, we can Fury it, double the power, draw even more cards. Then a Ghost works well for the game plan. Kind of, but I mean, it's an option, sure. How about Xenagos? What would I cut for that? What's the worst other creature that I added? Was it Blightsteel or was it... Because Balefire works really well with it. How about Terastodon? Because I don't actually need that when I have Bane of Progress. Or... Also, Hero's Blade is possibly just off curve, but I don't know. All right, let's get rid of Balefire. All right, so that's the Minsk and Boo deck. And then... here was the Rose deck. So for people who wanted to look at the Rose deck. It's very similar to a lot of other decks that I have that are just about impulse drawing. It's basically, so it gives you a junk token at the end of combat for every opponent you attack. So you want to have the maximum number of opponents that you can attack. I'm not sure what the best way to do this is, but I've gone with Genesee Enforcers, which is the only myriad creature in red that is cheaper than Rose. There's Elturel Survivors, but that one's also 4 mana. I wanted to be able to go curve into Rose, immediately get all of the junk tokens. There's Hanwar Garrison, which you can attack, put the other 2 creatures into play tapped and attacking different players, and that alone will trigger it. Loyal Apprentice, which keeps putting out more tokens, and then there's Squee. The problem with these is obviously that how do we keep attacking without them just getting blocked and killed? So we've got Bedlam, nothing can block. Dolmen Gate, none of our attackers receive damage. We don't actually have to hit our opponent, we just have to have attacked them. And then the junk tokens, impulse draw us more cards and generate red for every time we sack them. So we've got extra combats in here so that we can untap and do it again and keep getting more junks. There's also a bunch of more impulse draws here as ways of using the payoffs. And of course, we want to keep churning through cards. So we've got things like Burgi, Runaway Steamkin, Irabrask, Treasonous Ogre, Stormkiln Artist, Seething Song, and Sticker Goblin to keep going. And the idea is we want to keep going until eventually we find a win, and the win is going to be in one of a number of ways. Either, so on top of Rose, we have to have a way of generating an additional 2 mana per combat. So that's going to mean either... it's basically like Rose plus, I forget what else I had in here that also generated mana. Oh, if we have a way to untap our creatures, right? So basically, how do we get aggravated assault online every single time, right? It untaps all of our creatures, so we can just play creatures that tap for mana. So Iron Myrrh, etc. And then aggravated assault will untap all of them, even if they didn't attack. So as long as we have Rose, a way to attack all of our opponents, and then we've got 2 of any mana creature, or we have some other way of generating additional mana, like Professional Facebreaker is another one. If we're actually able to hit our opponent, then we can generate treasures, and we can take infinite combats and then just turn through our whole deck. And then the way we're actually going to win is we're just going to use Altar of the Brood. So we're just going to put Altar of the Brood down, and we'll keep generating more permanents. Rose itself will always generate more junk tokens to mill our opponents, so we'll just take infinite combats and then just mill everybody out. And then on top of that, we've got some stacks that we can play because we're in mono red. I don't think we have a single card that actually has an ETB trigger in the entire deck. So Torpor Orb is a way of punishing opponents while not punishing ourselves. Winter Moon and Rumination, Blood Moon, Magus, and From the Ashes, because we mostly have mountains with some other stuff. But for the most part, just mainly basic mountains. And then like just some other cards that work kind of well with what we're trying to do. That's basically it. And then here was the Rocco deck, if you wanted to take a look at that. Rocco. It's less about like the food tokens, and it's more about enabling ourselves to use the impulse draw while disabling our opponent's ability to use it. But there's also some beatdown stuff in here, and the food does matter. So that's the main thing going on. And then, unfortunately, I just do not have the time. I guess I can goldfish some flubs just to show that. So here's flubs. Is Orcish Lumberjack worth keeping if there are only 6 forests in the deck? There's 6 forests in the deck, but there's a million ways of tutoring them, so yes. It's also one of the ways that you can play turn 2 Minskenboo. So yes, it's worth playing. All right, so here's flubs. So we have to be empty-handed for his ability to trigger, right? Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card if you have no cards in hand, otherwise discard a card. Okay, so draw for turn. So we're going to go Opal, Chimeric Mass for 0, Copperline Gorge, and then tap this to play Stonecoil Serpent for 1 counter so that Mox Opal's online, and then we'll cast Opal and cast Careful Study. Draw, discarding... Oof, that's kind of weird. Land and... Oh, I don't even know. Song of Creation? I want to guarantee that I hit 4 for 1 of these, and I don't want to keep both of them. All right. So then next turn, we go land. Rite of Flame. Abundance. All right, and then we go land, flubs, Ornithopter, trigger, and we can replace all of our draws with only drawing non-land cards. So we will actually never hit a land. So we go draw. If it's a land, I'll just put it to the bottom because we would have done that anyway. So Monomorphose. Trigger, flubs, draw, and then this draws, and then we've got mana. So then we'll just play, use the mana for breach, and then we have to discard. And then we can breach something, so then we go breach back, I don't know, Rite of Flame? Breach, Rite of Flame back, exile, exile, exile. And then trigger flubs, go grab a non-land. Ooh, Noctis Revival. Okay, then this resolves. We have red. Then we cast Noctis Revival targeting, I don't know. Does it matter? Rite of Flame, sure. Trigger flubs, draw, that's a land. We wouldn't have drawn a land. Draw. All right, Phyrexian Walker. Then this resolves putting this back on top of our deck. And this is in the graveyard. Then we cast Phyrexian Walker, draw. Then we cast Rite of Flame. Draw, not this. We cast a 0-drop, draw. We cast Faithless looting, using some of the mana we have floating, draw, and then looting resolves. Graveyard, cast Darksteel Relic, draw, cast Lodestone Bauble, draw. We'll keep doing this for a while until eventually we win. That's the point. What's our actual payoff? I forget what it is. Is it Grape Shot? Or Brain Freeze? It's Brain Freeze. Okay. Or we can just play Ballista for 1 million, I think. No, Ballista's in here because it's a 0 mana creature. It's mainly just keep going until you get Brain Freeze, and then just Brain Freeze everyone. And then it obviously depends on where in the chain you get Brain Freeze, because obviously if you have to cast Brain Freeze before you've cast enough spells to mill everybody, then you just keep going until you hit Underworld Breach, and then you just breach back the Brain Freeze. Or you go until you hit Noctis Revival, and you Revival Brain Freeze back on top of your deck, and then Brain Freeze everyone again. So that's the main point with flubs. Anyway, I needed to go at 4:30. It is now 4:30. Thank you for stopping by. We are done building decks normally, but again, whenever I come back, if people want to request a deck, they can. So I'll see you next time.